Chapter 525. As soon as she handed him the small note, a sharp glint flashed across Kishir's eyes. The atmosphere among the three was incomparably more amiable than before as they enjoyed the newly brewed tea and refreshments. The only awkward moment arose when Kishir began to more openly offer Yudhir some refreshments. As they prepared to leave, the Empress looked far more at ease than when they'd first met and made a suggestion to Yudhir. Since it seems we will be seeing each other often from now on, may I address you more informally in the future? Of course, you may even call me by my first name. Being referred to by his title of Baron every time was fitting as a sign of respect for Yudhir's achievements, but it also lacked intimacy. Yudhir felt it would be better to be addressed with a term of endearment or even by his first name. At Yudhir's response, a soft smile bloomed on one of the Empress's cheeks. As a parting gift, she gave each of them a small present. It's nothing much, but please take these sachets of dried flowers that I personally grew. The gift looked surprisingly humble for something from the Empress of the Empire. However, the fact that she had grown and prepared them herself made it an incomparably precious gift. I'm not sure if I'm worthy to accept such a valuable item. It's no trouble at all. My magic powers may be meager, but they prove quite useful when growing plants. Keeping it beside you while sleeping will help you relax and have good dreams. Eventually, Yudhir left the Dawn Palace with the sachet tucked safely in his pocket. On the way back, Kishir asked Yudhir if anything had been uncomfortable during their visit to the palace. Yudhir expressed some concern over learning too much about the Empress's background, to which Kishir shook his head with a smile. There is no problem. She would have only mentioned it if she deemed it okay. The fact that Empress wasn't born into the ducal family but was adopted was widely known. Ever since the daughterless Herney family had adopted her as a temporary measure, planning to later transfer power to candidates from other families, there had been much turmoil behind the scenes. Kishir, who had watched it all unfold back then, shared the story lightly with Yudhir, realizing how much time had passed since those events. He had seen the Empress endure being considered a thorn in the Herney family's side, suffering yet ultimately acting for the Emperor's benefit. Despite the snickers of many in high society who saw the Empress as a lackluster and unnoticeable shadow, she had been a long-time ally, expertly suppressing the ambitions of the Herney family, one of the four ducal houses, and staunchly remaining at the Emperor's side. People say she rose to her current position because of her thirst for glory, but the truth is she wanted nothing more than to be by His Majesty the Emperor's side. No one believes it though. That's incredible. Truly sublime, Kishir agreed. In the past, every time I saw them, I would ponder emotions that I believed I would never understand in my lifetime. But on my way to get new refreshments today, it suddenly struck me. I already know what those emotions are. Intriguing, isn't it? Kishir smiled as he gently tapped Yudhir's cheek. Yudhir sensed the warmth that would follow but did not shy away. For reasons he couldn't fathom, it felt as though a slight ache tingled inside his throat. After a lingering kiss, Kishir skillfully drew Yudhir into his arms and finally unfolded the note he had received from the Empress. A brief flicker of sharpness crossed his red eyes, a sharpness he had not shown in front of the Empress as he skimmed over the small encrypted text. What does it say? It's news related to House Diarca. It seems they suspect the possibility of internal spies following this party. The Duke of Diarca began scrutinizing his long-standing aides anew and revealed his intention to partially replace the mercenaries owned by his house. On the surface, he said he would bring about change by reorganizing the local security forces, but Kishir interpreted his intentions differently. Judging by the fact that House Diarca's people are discreetly contacting awakened mercenaries and adventurers, it's clear that the power of the cavalry has impressed them. Additionally, it seems they're looking for the knight who left a new mark on the Emperor's sword mark. Kishir chuckled as if finding the matter amusing, but Yudhir didn't find it funny at all. When all the information came together, there was only one thing he could deduce. Duke Diarca had decided to abandon his previous complacency and gather new strength. If he was willing to extend his hand so openly to the Awakeners he had always despised, would that outreach only move outward? No. Yudhir spoke, furrowing his brows. Is there any talk of reaching into the cavalry? There was no such mention, but the possibility certainly exists. If there were already verified talents close at hand, the easiest and simplest thing would be to buy them out and draw them to one side. If Yudhir knew the nobles, they would naturally think this way, and he had been subjected to similar situations in his past life. Once newcomers are nurtured to a certain point, about 3 out of 10 always disappear, bought out by those offering more money. If the cavalry was still a small group as it was now, it was possible to address and manage everyone's grievances. However, the larger the group became, the harder that was to do. It was fortunate of those who are bought out left quietly. Some had grievances with either and had sold off confidential information and data from the cavalry. While the initial members were all alive and felt a strong camaraderie and sense of belonging to the cavalry, one would never be too sure. I don't want to suspect my comrades, but I will ask Kana to prepare for any eventuality. Frankly, I think the ones who turn their eyes wide to take you away are the real problem. Kishir grinned and tilted his head. Do you have any idea how many requests and invitations to meet Baron Yudhir Ale poured in after the party? If I exaggerated a bit, we would have used them as fuel for the fireplace. I didn't hear anything about that. That's because I sorted them all out before my assistant even saw them. The man who couldn't decide if he was joking or serious about how hard the task was soon looked at Yudhir with a much more serious expression. Just be cautious, especially with those who are not satisfied with just written communication and bother you in person. Yes, Yudhir responded without argument, even if those people would serve at best as post-meal exercise. The man who had been absent-mindedly stroking Yudhir's hair inspected the back of the note thoroughly, then crumbled it into a ball and turned it into ash. The last piece of information written on the note suggests that a significant disturbance occurred within Nolan a few days ago. I haven't received any detailed information yet, but it seems news has arrived quickly due to our connection with that side. Is it a fight among the princes? Had the moment they had long anticipated finally come now that Prince Ajane had safely arrived in Nolan? At Yudhir's question, Kishir nodded silently. It seems so. ... Are you worried about Prince Ajane? No. Yudhir answered briefly and elaborated. Before heading to the Great Serene Forest, I might have been concerned. But since his awakening, there is likely no one there who would be his match. It would be better to think about the situation after his victory. You are so certain, even though you haven't witnessed the prince's awakener power yourself. It was natural for Yudhir to be confident about Ajane's victory, having seen his abilities in a previous life. However, he had not witnessed the princess's current awakener power, so Kishir's question was well placed. Yudhir paused for a moment before speaking. It's because I have an idea of the potential of the prince's awakener abilities. You speculate on the potential of his abilities, huh? Kishir repeated Yudhir's words. Is that the knowledge something you learned from the awakener who taught you much, or is it the result of your own acquired experiences? Caught off guard by the unexpected probing question, Yudhir found himself momentarily speechless. As Yudhir hesitated, a man lightly pressed his lips against the top of his head, as if to say there was no need for embarrassment, and then tenderly traced his fingers down to his earlobe. You don't have to answer if you're uncertain. But yes, I also firmly agree that Prince Ajane will be the victor in Nolan. We will know more when we get further details, but along with the relics that should arrive from the Nolan soon. It seems we can expect good results.